Welcome to the drop-off and pickup instructional video for City Garden Montessori School. Since January 2022, City Garden has been a two-building campus. The Early Childhood Education Center at 1618 Tower Grove Avenue houses our preschool and kindergarten classrooms, otherwise known as primary classrooms. For this building, we will often use the acronym ECEC. The Elementary and Adolescent Education Center at 4209 Folsom Avenue houses our 1st through 8th grade classrooms, otherwise known as lower elementary, upper elementary, and junior high. For this building, we will often use the acronym EAEC. Let's take a look at a bird's eye view of the neighborhood so you can see the proximity between these buildings. The area outlined with a green circle is the Early Childhood Education Center, and the area outlined with a yellow circle is the Elementary and Adolescent Education Center. As you can see, the buildings are only 1 block away from one another. In this video, we will cover Part 1, Drop-off and Pickup Instructions for Early Childhood Education Center families, Part 2, Drop-off and Pickup Instructions for Elementary and Adolescent Education Center families, and Part 3, Drop-off and Pickup Instructions for families with students at both buildings. The car line for the Early Childhood Education Center will be the same as it has been in the past. Cars will begin lining up at the alleyway that leads to Blaine Avenue, forming a line that backs up to Folsom Avenue. Let's take a moment and zoom in on this stretch of the alley. When in the alleyway, you will notice this building and garage door. Parents and guardians in the car line must not block access to this garage door. Please pay close attention to all traffic signage in order to keep this highlighted stretch of the alleyway clear of cars and accessible to our neighbors. A staff member will guide cars from the alleyway across Blaine Avenue and into the parking lot where children will be dropped off. Cars will then exit through the next set of gates, through the alleyway, and onto McCree Avenue. Please note the following changes to drop-off and pickup times for the Early Childhood Education Center. Standard drop-off is from 8:10 to 8:30 a.m. The school day begins at 8:30 a.m. The school day ends at 3:15 p.m. and standard pickup is from 3:15 to 3:30 p.m. Part 2. Drop-off and pickup instructions for Elementary and Adolescent Education Center families. Cars will begin lining up at the Elementary and Adolescent Education Center parking lot entrance, forming a line that backs up toward the intersection of Folsom Avenue and Thurman Avenue. Cars will then exit the neighborhood via Clem Street, mitigating traffic congestion on the stretch of Folsom Avenue west of the Elementary and Adolescent Education Center. Please note the following drop-off and pickup times for the Elementary and Adolescent Education Center. Standard drop-off is from 8:15 to 8:30 a.m. The school day begins at 8:30 a.m. The school day ends at 3:30 p.m. and standard pickup is from 3:30 to 3:45 p.m. Part 3. Drop-off and pickup instructions for families with students at both buildings. Now, this is where things get a little tricky. For families with both ECEC and EAEC students, we ask that you adhere to the following procedures. For morning drop-off, please drop off your Elementary and Adolescent Education Center student first, and your Early Childhood Education Center student second. Once you exit the drop-off line at the Elementary and Adolescent Education Center, a staff member will route you to the drop-off line for the Early Childhood Education Center, rather than asking you to exit the neighborhood via Clem Street. This will ensure that you directly enter the Early Childhood Education Center car line. For afternoon pickup, please pick up your Early Childhood Education Center student first and your Elementary and Adolescent Education Center student second. Because the school day ends 15 minutes earlier at the Early Childhood Education Center, we ask that families pick up their Early Childhood Education Center student first, exit the car line via McCree Avenue, head east on McCree Avenue toward Thurman Avenue, head north on Thurman Avenue toward Folsom Avenue, and head west on Folsom Avenue into the Elementary and Adolescent Education Center car line. For families who prefer to walk their children to the front door of either building, You are invited to park anywhere in the neighborhood. Please be mindful that traffic and parking throughout the neighborhood will be very busy during drop-off and pickup, so we advise that families utilize the car lines as much as possible. For families or students who bike to school, there are bike racks at both buildings. As stated previously, traffic throughout the neighborhood will be very busy during drop-off and pickup. Please be sure to check both ways before crossing streets and move through the streets with caution. Lastly, we ask that folks remember to drive safely, respect speed limits, and be good stewards of our neighborhood. This has been the drop-off and pickup instructional video for City Garden Montessori School. For more information about drop-off and pickup, please check your email for communications from your student's building principal, or visit the family portal. Thank you for watching, and we wish you well.